Hey there, welcome to my channel. Today I'd like to talk a little bit about a video by Bad Tempered Badger. Hope you enjoy.
Hello, Bad Tempered Badger here with a little bit of a rant. I'm sure it hasn't escaped your notice that things have been rather fraught as of late, especially for those who oppose religious extremism and promote LGBT/GRSM inclusion.
The people Bad Tempered Badger is talking about generally only agree on one subject, the disbelief in a god or deity, and although the topics are not mutually exclusive, it is often the case that people will stand up for the LGB part, but not the TQIA+ part of the abbreviation. So, there will be times when you realise that those you respected don't share a similar ethical standard as yourself, and fall short of the moral standard you expected from them.
Certain people, I'm sure who will become obvious as I go on, have made this far worse. I'm going to go through here, briefly, why I think this is, and how those people are actively harming the communities they aim to help.
Do you mean by holding those you agree with accountable as you would those you disagree with?
Imagine you're a person who has just left the Jehovah's Witnesses, for example. All your family and friends have cut contact with you, and so you reach out to the online atheist community. The only experience you have with anything LGBT is the Jehovah's Witness elders telling you that they are terrible sinners who want everyone to wear tight jeans. The first thing you see when you look online is certain people screaming, or monotone talking with a tone of condemnation, into the void about how anyone who disagrees even slightly on trans issues is a bigot and shouldn't be allowed to speak.
I would suggest a different narrative to the one being suggested by Bad Tempered Badger. I would suggest that what the newly deconverted person would see is that it is okay to stand up and fight with marginalised communities, that bigotry in the form of transphobia, homophobia, racism, sexism, anti-Semitism, or any other socially destructive action should not be tolerated. Those who push the idea that trans people should not have the same rights and opportunities as cis people should be challenged in all non-violent forms. That includes shouting down or mono-talking with a tone of condescension. Thanks for the tone policing, by the way. Trans rights are human rights and not up for debate.
Is your reaction going to be, this is the community I want to be a part of? Or is it going to be, I see what the elders meant, I'm going back?
Thanks for the false dilemma. Just because they may not want to get involved with the online community in this way does not mean they would return to their former religion. And all of this is overlooking the point of view that they may see people holding their friends to a high ethical standard. Is that not a positive thing?
Let's try a less extreme example. You're trying to convince a group of conservative-leaning older people that trans people are not a debauched threat to society, but a marginalised group who need help. Trying to convince them to vote to allow trans folk basic human rights. The group of conservatives will go online because they've heard something about athletes on the news and see certain people making arguments that biological sex and sexually dimorphic species are social constructs, and that all a male has to do to compete in female sport is call themselves female.
And going online to watch multiple videos of people who claim to be skeptical or rational reinforce their preconceptions is going to do what exactly? This reinforcement is done by misrepresenting scientific information. Following on from this onto other social media platforms such as Twitter and Facebook, there are people trying to set the record straight, letting people know what the science actually indicates, only to be called extreme SJWs etc., or to be told they are just against free speech. More on free speech another day. I would have thought the online atheists would show the conservative-leaning older people a better position by all actively calling out those who want to restrict the human rights of any group. Or would that just be too obvious? It's also telling that you choose not to mention that in many cases it's not just identifying as a woman, but also being on a course of HRT for a minimum period of time before competing. You know this as well as I do. Did you leave this piece of information out as it doesn't fit your argument, or did you just forget?
I don't think they'd be convinced. I think they would be far more likely to push as hard as they can against any kind of trans inclusion. It's not the LGBT community that needs convincing. It's the curious people honestly asking questions who certain people shout down and block.
You are right. It's not the LGBTQIA+ community that needs to be convinced, and the genuinely curious people can find the answers they seek. I did. That being said though, it is not the responsibility of every trans person to educate others every day of their lives. To feel like they have to justify their existence every day to complete strangers seems to me like it would be completely draining emotionally and psychologically. No one has the right to my time. If I choose to block someone, then that is my choice and right to do so. However, those that are attempting to remove the rights of others do need to be held accountable, especially by those that are in a position to be able to influence them into questioning their own position as being a reasonable one to hold.
This was said to me recently by a certain person. Why do I only seem to be on the side of those this person opposed? It's because whenever I interact with that certain person, they've appeared in a thread where I defended someone I thought was unfairly treated, to shout me down and call me a bigot defender or a tool for the alt-right.
In most arguments regarding human rights, there are three positions. Two are minorities, those that are oppressing others, and those that are being oppressed, including those that stand with them. Then there is the vast majority. These are often the ones that are either silent, make excuses for the oppressors, or call for moderation or middle ground. This group causes as much harm as the actual oppressors, and in my opinion are complicit in the oppression. I could not in any good conscience defend a video or other content that holds bigoted material, and find it difficult to understand how anyone else could. Again, in my opinion, Badger, I think you fall within the vast majority on most issues.
When I'm advocating for LGBT inclusion, I make as certain as I can that these certain people are not included, because they drive away and alienate the very people I am trying to reach, along with many LGBT people as well. That's why I say that certain people have been and are actively harming the LGBT community, because they turn people who could so easily be allies into enemies. Be better than this. Thanks for watching.
If someone would stop being an ally just because they don't like someone, were they even an ally to begin with? Do you have to like someone to be able to agree with what they are saying? The answer to both is no. In many ways, this video by Bad Tempered Badger comes across as blaming the victims, almost like it is the trans people's fault that videos were made with the intent or a call to restrict their human rights or opportunities. It's their fault that people call their entire existence into question, and those that fight back with their allies are the ones to blame. To anyone that ever watches this, all people should have the same rights and opportunities. No one should be discriminated against. Let's work towards a better society so these kinds of arguments aren't necessary anymore. Thank you for watching. The link to the original video is in the description.